Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your friend Dharam, and today I have very smart, very intelligent person. His name happened to be Sohan Gunasekera, and he's based out of Melbourne. That's the exciting part. Why it's exciting? Because I'm in Sydney at the moment, traveling to Sydney, and he's in Melbourne. Okay, we both are in Australia at the moment. So, welcome, Sohan. How are you today?
Thank you, Dharam. Yes, thank you. Doing fantastic. I mean, it's a beautiful day in Melbourne today, 28 degrees and sunny. So everything's looking bright.
Fantastic. Good to know this. Good to know. And I like to appreciate all the people joining today. And I can see a lot of people repeatedly coming to these webinars. So happy to see you again. I know I can't see you, but happy to see your name on the list. I appreciate that you have a hunger for learning, and you keep learning and keep growing. This is what the purpose of this program is, to bring the best people in the world to this forum and extract as much as I can from them for you to keep learning from them. So that's the whole purpose. So we probably have more than 200 plus recordings from people like Sohan or from all over the place, all over the world. And feel free to join those YouTube channels and keep watching. Go back to those webinars. And if you are watching some of the webinar we recorded in last 1 year, you can also claim PDUs for those. Some of them, I cannot say all of them, but this program will give you 1 PDU. So at one point of time, I will share the PDU code. So you can use it to grow your or maintain your certificates, PMP, PgMP, PfMP, whatever certificate you have. So with this, once again, I'd like to welcome Sohan and welcome all of you to this program, and excited to have this topic, very interesting topic, value creation and change management. So after doing research and realizing that, hey, we have a person who can talk about this important topic here. So let me introduce Sohan. He's program project portfolio management experience coming in currently in Melbourne. The best thing is he was my student as a PgMP student, and he did pass his exam with flying colors on January 11th, 2024. Yay!
Thank you.
So thank you, Sohan, for trusting me in the journey. And along with you now, I have 496 PgMPs. I got one more today only from Ottawa, from Canada, and so I'm looking for 4 more to have a. I know it's nothing actually, but yeah, I feel good to reach my 500 first milestone. Actually, not first. It's going to be 50 and then 100. Now 500. The next will be 1,000. But anyway, it's all milestones are important. So maybe Sohan can talk a little bit about that. How was your journey as PgMP and what happened?
You make a really good point there, Dharam, in that there's 2 sides to everything we do. There's the theoretical and the procedural work that you have to go through when you're doing the PgMP, and even to that point PMP, which is a lot of work as well. But then you have to put that into the context of lived experience, right? And to be able to put that into that lived experience, everyone is very, very different. And one of the key things that I gained from doing the program with you is the lived experience within the context of PgMPs, because it's very hard to just find a bunch of PgMPs or PgMP candidates and have a conversation around how do you do, what do you do, where do you go, and all that, let alone trying to find the time to coordinate people with that like-minded interests. So being able to work with you brought that capability in, which was really valuable, because it just gives you that context of what you should be doing, how you should be doing things, both from a PMI's perspective, but then bringing your lived experience and everyone else's lived experience into that one space to say, right, this is how you build that capability. This is how you respond to it based on PMI requirements and your experience. So to me, that meant that it was always relatable. So study in its stricter sense wasn't really a problem because you've been through it. You know what it is. You know what it is. So it's really about associating what you've done to what PMI looks for and making that connection. So yeah, and I found that really, really valuable. I've gone back through some of the conversations we've had, replaying it and going, ah, yes, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah, so that was really valuable.
Thanks, Sohan, for kind words, and of course, inspiration. You are inspiration to many future program project portfolio managers. All right. Anything else you want to talk about yourself, Sohan?
Not really. No, look, I really enjoy what I do. I think, I'm really in a very fortunate position to be able to do what I do for a living. So life's very exciting as a project manager, and I never expected that to be the case, and
yeah.
Every day I wake up and go, there's so much to do, and this is how much I achieved yesterday. So it's very rewarding. If anyone's looking to be a project manager or advance their careers into project management and complex project management and transformation side of things, I would wholeheartedly say, go for it. Give it everything you've got, because it's going to give everything back to you.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. So look, you mentioned very interesting point that life of project program management, yes, sometimes seems too much stress or running around things, but at the end of the day, you enjoy that. The reason we are in this role, because we are making things happen which are not possible without somebody can say, hey, why do we need a project manager, program manager? You really need a project manager, program manager, because somebody who understands how to coordinate, how to take from the idea to reality. That's a project manager, program manager's role. So that's what you guys are doing, and I'm happy that you're doing a great job. So one thing I like to highlight, just a coincidence, I didn't realize that way, but when I was talking to you during early discussion, you mentioned that my previous guest, Precious, 2 weeks ago, we had a webinar, something similar. He is Melbourne, you're Melbourne, and he is working for Air Services Australia, and you're also working for Air Service Australia.
Yeah, it's just by coincidence. It wasn't something that was designed. Yes, and it's a very, very exciting space to be in. So I'm not surprised Precious is doing what he's doing, because he's very, very good at what he does.
Exactly. And other coincidence, both of you are PgMP. Okay, great. So we have a great topic and lots of good questions. So Sohan, my first question is about one of the LinkedIn post. I think you shared, very interesting topic. So you talked about short-term corporate gratification. So what is short-term corporate gratification? And moreover, why does it affect organizations' business goals in the current scenario?
Yeah, look, when I was talking about that, it was in the context of looking through and trying to work through really difficult, large, complex processes and a change and projects. And organizations are going through massive changes at the moment, whether it's been through COVID or post-COVID era. Things have changed quite significantly, and companies have been in this sort of space where they go, we've got to do something, oh, here's a great idea, we should follow that. Now, whether it's an original idea or whether it's someone else who's doing something really well that you want to replicate, that's all great. The big issue there is that a lot of organizations underestimate the time and effort required for successful transformations. You can change something very quickly. At least from an IT perspective, things can be done very quickly. But it's the sustainment that's really important and difficult, and it's the sustainment that brings the value to the organization, not the change itself. And so where I was going with that was to talk about what it is that organizations need to really focus on beyond the first decision to say we wanted to do this and then here's a bucket of money to do this. It's really about going to the next level. And unfortunately, where we are in corporate situations and even in government to that matter, is that the long-term investment is quite restricted, if not poor, in the planning processes. And that's got a lot to do with a lot of things that happens in a corporate environment. There's always budget pressures, there's always environmental pressures, there's always things that comes from all over the place. The key thing is being able to plan that out and really understand what it is that you're trying to do, and then being realistic about how do you get to your utopian scenario that you're chasing effectively. So my point there was really around planning for change, but then planning for the sustainment of that change beyond the change itself is something that organizations really need to focus on. And again, one of the things, and it was really great to see, understand, and I suppose to connect together from the PgMP work that we do, all about the value creation and value sustainment. So we're moving away from, or moving beyond doing the project now to more so the value generation, value creation, and then value sustainment, so that at any given point in time, you can say, here's what we invested, here's our return on investment, and here's the ongoing return that we promised the stakeholders, whether it be the business, the shareholders, or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's the key thing. I think the fundamental part of that is really about thinking beyond the tangible delivery to say you need to move on to the next level, which is about the long-term sustainment and long-term investment.
Definitely. It's a very interesting point, actually, what you highlighted, and we have been talking as a part of PgMP learning as well. We talk about, deliver the benefit, value. That's all itself is some idea, good idea for many companies, because they are more focused on delivery. After the delivery, when the delivery is given to somebody, is it really giving you the value, expected value? What did you do to ensure the beneficiaries are really trained and motivated to accept and to benefit from that? You have given the product. Let's say you give a brand new, beautiful electric car to somebody who had never driven a car.
Yeah.
And for that person, a car is great, maybe looking good in the garage or maybe outside, but he is not using it because he is not trained to use it. And second, he is not motivated to use this because of his other fears. So the part of the transition, we have to ensure that our stakeholders, the beneficiaries, are aware of the product. They have the required knowledge and training. The second is they are excited to welcome this new product or service, and they are using it as expected. So you have to not only worry about the training about the product, about creating some excitement and wait, to bring it on. I want to use it. Yeah. If that is created, then the products or services or transformation, they're already successful. So they are ready and able to,
Yeah.
use it as effectively as it should.
Yeah, and I think the value that a combination of understanding how to break down the metrics, how to assess the metrics, how to put together the right metrics to understand what your organization's going through, how to generate the value in the way you want it to, rather than just copying it down from the internet as a value set. And then incorporating change and transformation capabilities into that beyond the delivery of the product is the really exciting part. Right? And what happens in most organizations is that they stop at the product part and they don't see that sustainment of the change part. So a lot of organizations have to go back another cycle within the first 12 months, because they start seeing value generated in the first 6 months, and then they start seeing it taper off because the enthusiasm fails or leans away. The support models start to go off because you have the hypercare period for the first 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, and then the support model comes in, BAU comes in, and everyone goes back to doing their day jobs. So initiatives start to fail slowly, and it's really about trying to bring that into building that into the delivery pipeline, rather than saying delivery ends at the product delivery.
And the thing that I'm going through building my app, app is currently, the current focus is PgMP and PfMP, and it's going to have so many questions and so many learning material. Eventually I want to make it without PfMP and PPA and RMP. So, and I'm going through the process, the product is almost ready, but how about the the care and changes or deployment and this and that and going forward. So I want to make sure the product which come out is going to be excellent, of course reflecting my vision and my values, and it's continue to be delivering the value for long duration for the people who would acquire or subscribe my product or services. So that's what, and as we said, having a right model around the sustainment is happening or not, values delivered or not. That's where it is, as you said, 3 months, 6 months after hypercare is taken away or reduced, and then people start. We need to measure when you're starting baseline, and continue to measure how much success we are getting out of this product or transformation.
Yeah, and look, there are some organizations that focuses on very, very strict waterfall type delivery models, and in some cases, and where I've seen, especially in the development of applications, taking that agile approach makes a lot of sense as well, right? Because you, instead of waiting for a final product that's perfect, you can deliver, add value, add momentum, add buy-in, get people excited about it, and then release another feature, right? So all of a sudden you start building that critical mass to get things through, and that can be a really good strategy as well.
Perfect. Okay, my next question to you, Sohan, why do sustained investment in strategic priorities matter for the organization's long-term performance?
I think we touched on this a little bit in the earlier question. It's really about sustained value generation as you go through programs, and organizations invest a lot of money in transformation, and they hang a lot of hope in those transformations, right? So, and the reason for that is not because someone came up with a great idea, let's change something. Everyone's looking for an edge. Everyone's looking for a better way to do it. Everyone's looking for a cheaper, more effective way to do what they do. So unfortunately, everything you do is going to take an investment first so that you can get a benefit later, right?
Yeah.
It happened right throughout history. It's going to keep happening. You got to put something in to get something out, right? Even in the basic form of a lottery, you still got to buy the ticket to win the lottery, right?
I know.
So you got to put it in, put the effort in first to get something out, and the sustained investment is really important in that you just gotta make sure you allow for continuous improvement, you allow for continuous support, you allow for continuous success in whatever the niche you want it to be. You can't say, I went and bought a car, I bought a Ferrari, I took it for a drive, now I've got a Ferrari, and you never drive again or put petrol in it, it'll change tires or nothing, right? You can't just say done once, that's it, right? It's not going to add value. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled through that process, other than the fact that you might be able to afford a Ferrari, and if you can, that's wonderful. But you just got to keep doing that to get the most out of it. So for organizations, it's really important to be able to build that investment in as they build the initial investment of the transformation or the project or the program or anything that they do, and rather than stopping it at this sort of artificial construct of a 12-month period or 18-month period or 24-month period, and that's where funding stops. I understand where that comes from. I mean, there's going to be market pressures everywhere. Everything you do, there's going to be a whole lot of things that comes into play. But innovation doesn't stop in 12 months or 18 months or 24 months, right? But people's enthusiasm doesn't, work in those blocks. People's awareness doesn't work in those blocks. So you need to keep feeding that to get the best out of whatever the situation is. So exactly. That's where that continuous improvement or continuous investment is really, really critical.
Yeah, and this is very important topic, especially we need to sustain and we need to ensure we are measuring the success, and we have a support structure around. For example, as you rightly said, or like another example can be you build a bridge, very nice bridge and every modern facilities, and if you do not transition to, or the maintenance department do not look after the bridge as they have to or should be, the bridge will not stay forever, for long duration. That need to be maintained, need to be supported, checked, verified, so that it can be sustained for many, many years to come. And other thing is value generation. Sometimes can take some, time to come to the point where everybody realizing, oh yes, this is it. I have to be on this. Like I've been watching PgMP journey since 2000. I got my PgMP 2010. And I know PgMP started 2007, very slow, 100, 150, 120 PgMP for up to, I think, up to 2018, 2013, 14. It was going like that. And then I started seeing 200, 250, 300. Now, last 2 years, it's growing. I think it's picking up the, getting into the exponential part, 500 or 600 and 1,000. This year, there's a price we see 1,200 PgMP in 1 year, because at one point in time people realize the value, and then everybody jump into that. And the most important thing is, do we have all the support structure and sustainment and all those things value? Okay, my next question: why does a single approach culture transformation only fit some?
That's a really tricky question. It depends on the organization, right? So if you look at organizations like a military organization, there is an inherent requirement for everyone to do everything in a very structured way, because the second you step out of it, then you're putting everything else in danger, right? So they are very, very highly fine-tuned systems in place which, you know, if you there's a little bit of tolerance to go outside the margins, but if you go way outside the margins and you're a complete outlier, then you put yourself and you put others in danger, right? And it's a life and death situation in most cases. Whereas in other organizations, it's completely different, right? So it's about understanding organizations as a whole. And, you know, I've worked with several, you know, multinational global organizations, and you can actually work through organizations like, you know, metaphorically speaking, like a small society or a large society of people. So, you know, you can look at organizations and how they work, how they behave, you know, what are the value systems, how do they make decisions, what's important to them, what's not important to them in the decision-making process. So, for example, the culture people in Australian organizations have very different ways of working to the culture of people who work in, say, in Germany or Switzerland, in European situations, right, to Indian organizations, to American organizations. Right? There's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's really what works really well for them. And it's really important for leaders and the people in the organization and teams to understand that every piece of diversity brings in value. Right?
Yep.
It's a different opinion, it's a different mindset, it's a different set of, you know, it's a different way of thinking about the same problem that is posed to the organization, the reason why you are there. So you're employed by an organization to solve for a problem, right? And understanding why you're there is important, and bringing different opinions in, different viewpoints in to solve for that problem is really important. And if everyone's the same, we're just going to have, you know, the groupthink scenario where everyone agrees and we move on in one direction, and, you know, you leave aside a whole lot of things that could have been done better, thought differently, you know, acted differently, whatever. So the key thing there, though, is that as leaders in the organization, whether it's an appointed leadership role or, you know, it's a natural leadership role that you perform within the organization with people, it's really incumbent on us to harness that, to bring all those capabilities in and get the best out of people, to say, okay, let's hear your view and understand. And, you know, we do this as project managers inherently by putting together a stakeholder map, and, you know, say, okay, where do we find these people? Where do we get these opinions? But it's actively looking for different opinions to say, how do we bring those capabilities in? How do we bring the thought processes in so that our decisions are stronger, are more robust, you know, can be tested in different scenarios. You know, you do your smoke tests, but they are infinitely stronger because you're getting various viewpoints. So it's really important to create that approach where, you know, depending on the organization, you have the thought processes aligned to the strategic outcome of the organization's existence.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, so as you mentioned, it's not a single approach we can apply to different type of cultural organizations. We are working in the military, we have a good example, you know, where, you know, different way of working. When you go to the government department, a different way of working. You go to the stock market, they're very fast and furious going around. And if you go to schools and, like, you know, they're a different way of it. You need to think about the background and the culture and how we're going to work with them to transition from where they are to the new way of doing things. And sometimes it's very easy, very fast, yeah, because they are ready to change. Sometimes they take different approach. You need to come up with different approach. Okay, this type of stakeholder, we need to engage them in differently. bring this kind of interactions, or maybe in doing some team building activities. Everybody act differently, so you need to spend time to understand the culture, understand them, and then build your strategies around that. That's where successes are. Not just, okay, I was successful in this company with multi-mega billion-dollar work, and I'm going to apply the same strategy here. No, it doesn't work like this. That was great. You did well. Now let's see the new, and from different perspective, come up with a different approach. Well, the approach which will be applicable to this environment.
And some cultures can be at very local levels as well. Within your team, you might work for a global organization within a program of 1,000 people, and then your team might come down to 10 people, and within that team still might have a number of subcultures as well that brings in different views and opinions and backgrounds, and
exactly
different levels of risk appetites and all that. And as leaders, I think it's really important for us to understand where everyone's coming from in our teams and our organization, and bring the best out of them.
Exactly, and that's where your PgMP learning comes. Who are my stakeholder? Analyze them, understand them, put them onto the map, 4 quadrants, and what will work in this situation. If they are not supporting at the moment, but we want them to be supportive, what you have to take some extra steps. So identify them, and these are very basic, easy steps. If you can follow them, your chance of success is very, very high. We most of the time we're running around getting things done, this, and we forget the most important part: the stakeholder, the beneficiary, the people going to use the product. Right. Moving to the next question: what are the critical change leadership competencies for program managers?
Look, there's a whole raft of competencies that a program manager, project manager, any leader needs to have in managing. There's 2 sides to everything you do, right? If you're in a delivery type role, you have to deliver a product or a service, and then you have to lead a team of people who gets that outcome for you. And it's really important to manage all those together. But from a change leadership perspective for program managers, I think that relatability factor is really important, to be able to to be able to relate to people, to be empathetic to people, to understand where they're coming from, their viewpoints, and what drives them. What I say to people, it's all about understanding what makes people, what makes people tick, and what ticks them off, right? So it's really understanding where that balance is and how to get the best out of people. Being able to think critically under pressure in stressful situations is really important, because people look to you for answers, and whether they are the one answer or there could be multiple answers, it doesn't really matter. People are looking for direction, and to be able to provide them direction under, and change is really difficult. Change is really stressful for most people, right? And to be able to provide that direction and clarity is really important. So communication skills come into this, and it's really a heavy requirement for any person in this space, in change space in particular, to be able to communicate effectively, look at your audience and say, okay, well, I understand you as an audience need this information this way and this time period, and I'm going to provide that to you before you ask for it, right? And it's proactively doing that. And that in itself builds confidence, competence, and credibility, right? So what you want to do in your career as a professional project manager, program manager, change, transformation, leadership person is to build that credibility and competence so that you can help organizations as they go through these difficult processes. So I think that they're the key things, being able to relate to people, being empathetic, a full understanding of where they're coming from, what they do. Being able to think and communicate clearly in stressful and demanding situations, and then building that credibility and competence. Basically, you're building some social capital within the organization to say, you know what you're doing, and you can convince others that, this is your thinking. And it may not be the decision that they want to hear, or it may not be the decision they want to take at the time, but you're giving a valued opinion and a credible option for them to consider. I think that's really important.
Yeah. You touched on some of the critical skills, leadership skills you have to have, so that you can be treated like you are seen as a powerful or effective program manager, which is very, very key, because one is people see you, they should see you, your team, your project manager, and your team should see you as a leader, and they are following the vision created by you for the organization, and you need to take them through the journey. Basically, they are their followers, so you need to create a vision and motivate them, excite them, and solve the problem. Of course, from time to time they come to you with problems, and of course you cannot solve all the problems, but you come up with the way we're going to analyze it, the way we're going to find the solution. These are the basic trait of a good program managers: engaging with the stakeholder and getting the best out of them. And especially when the project manager or a particular person has capabilities and they don't recognize their capabilities, and they are worried because of any reason, that they have capability. You need to trust, okay, this guy can take from here to there because they have that skills. You can see that.
Yeah. And sometimes, I've worked with some really charismatic leaders where you're almost scared to come out of your shell, to put the opinions out, because you're not confident in yourself, because you're working with these amazing people with amazing skills and capabilities. But as a leader, and I've benefited from that, where the leader recognizes that and gives you the platform to, come up with your thoughts and ideas, and put that out there. And I think as I get to the age I'm at and working with people, it's really incumbent on me to make sure that I give my teams, the up and coming people, the people who are usually quiet, that platform to voice their opinions and their capabilities, put their capabilities out there, because a lot of the time we miss out on that amazing opportunity because we listen to only the vocal minorities and move on to the next step.
Next question I have is, what are the best practices for managing a diverse team during a change management process?
I think the key thing in managing any team, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, is around clarity and vision. And I guess the next thing that goes along with that clarity and vision is to be able to have a clear path to success. And that's, again, around the thinking and being able to think around what needs to be done quickly and effectively. So it's about understanding the background, understanding the pressures, understanding the actors that impact on your space that you're trying to work on. Right? So having a clear vision, path to success are really important. And I guess the second part of that is trust. Regardless of what team you're working with, you have to be able to build trust as a leader, because people respond well in situations where they have a high level of trust. Right? I was listening to something that Simon Sinek was talking about some time back, and he was talking about, you know, how they choose the elite military soldiers in the US, and they were talking about, you know, capability versus trust. And he was saying that, you know, you'd always go for trust before capability, because you can always build capability, but it's very, very difficult to build trust. And, you know, even Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about, you know, that, you know, beyond the very, very basic requirements, everything else builds on a trust relationship, right? Until you get to this sort of self-actualization perspective. And it's all about making sure that you feel secure to provide value to someone else. Right? It's the same old adage that you have in airlines, you know, put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on everyone else or your kids, right? And the first thing you think is, oh, my kid, I'm gonna put it on my child, but you need to be able to do it first so that you can help more than one if you get the opportunity. So it's really about going through those two parts, you know, clarity and having a clear vision and path to success, and then building trust. Everything else beyond that is, you know, I say everything else is negotiable, because you can build the capability, you can build the processes, you can build the teams according to your needs. But if you don't have those two fundamental things where you can show someone this is why you're doing it, and then giving them the opportunity to do what they need to do, what they're experts at doing, and giving them the safety net to say it's okay to fail. You know, fail fast, fail forward, move on, get to it, right? And showing that it's okay to fail, but learn from it and then we move on is really, really critical. So I guess the key things there is that having those basics in place, and then you can build on top of that.
Yeah, very nice. Good. Yeah, so there was team, and nowadays, especially because we are working in so many, you know, almost everywhere you go, you find mix of, you know, team coming from various part of the world. You know, whether they're coming from Saudi Arabia, Chile, or India, or Pakistan, or Canada, or other places, and you have a good mix of people. Their thinking is different way of celebrating their, you know, whatever festival, and now they're part of your team, and you need to work with them. Of course, they come with the reason you have selected them, because they have some key qualities you're looking for. That's why they are here. And when they are here, you need to understand what they're, you know, of course, we do the SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, those things. And we should align the roles or the job we're going to give the person based on their competencies, their, you know, what they're really aspiring to. Then they will be very motivated, very excited.
Yeah.
You know, there can be, so there can be people coming with the, you know, somebody who's very good in analytics, but they cannot speak too much. And you put this person in leadership role, you know, even the analytics part is also gone, and leadership, they fail. But if this analytic person in the analytic role, and give them every opportunity to work and excel, that person can be very good asset for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so, and don't just compare. So don't compare that because one person is a great leader, good talker, and why you're not. No, everybody is different. The background, the knowledge, and the learning experience they had, they're coming from the back, you know, where they're coming from. Everybody has a different way. So utilize that, the best of their ability to get your, you know, put them in the right direction. That's what it is. Sorry, I cut you off in that.
No. I was just saying it's really important to harness all those capabilities. And as a you know, a program manager or a project manager or a leader in your work area, it's really important to understand where people are coming from and what their capabilities are and what they what their personalities are like. That way you can support them through to get the best out of people.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So my next question, Sohan, to you. How do changing teams' mindsets and board behavior affect the transformation process and the value creation? In addition, how do symbolic actions overcome and control the elephant in the room?
This is PM 101 stuff, right? It's you always work with very divergent drivers around you when you're doing projects and delivery. It's there's always going to be people who are supportive of what you do, and there's always going to be people who are a bit apprehensive about what you do, and so some are sort of mute in the conversation and just waiting to see what happens. The key thing is, and I go back to my previous statement about clarity, vision, capabilities in communication, understanding what paths to success is. Because when you're brought in as a project manager, program manager, transformation manager, you're brought in to enhance the broader vision that the organization has. So the broader vision is we need to change what we do. Then they bring you in to provide the expertise in what is it that we need to do, in what sequence, and what do you need to do at what time, and how do you get to do the things you need to do to achieve the outcome of we need to change. Right? And it's not a single elephant in a room. In most cases, there's a herd of elephants in multiple rooms sitting around waiting for something to happen so that they can sort of start trampling around. The key thing is for you to have that stakeholder map always in the back of your mind, have that always present somewhere to say, right, here's how we deal with this person under these circumstances. They want to see information in this context, in this format, in this period of time. They're a visual person, they're an auditory person. It's really important for you to know what that is and how to communicate that information. Trust and building credibility is really important. And as you build all these things, the elephants start to diminish. The barriers start to diminish, and the credibility that you build and the social the social capital that you build within organizations is really critical, so that you can have honest, upfront, clear conversations with the elephants to understand where they're coming from. Because a lot of the time there's validity in their concerns. They just haven't voiced it because they haven't had the opportunity or whatever else. Right? So to be able to have the conversation and say, sometimes, it depends on how good your relationship is. You can go say, hey, what's your problem? or you can go down the more softer approach and say, I'm seeing this happening. I want to hear about your views here. And people love to, at least in my opinion, people love to talk. Right? You give them the opportunity, you give them the platform, they want to tell you all about it, and you listen and you act. So that's how you deal with the behavioral changes. The way to change a mindset is to have a clear vision and a clear understanding of what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how you're going to go about doing it. The way to convince people is to communicate that effectively and in the right way, in the right time, to the right people. And to be able to do that, you need to build that trust component. You need to build that credibility. You need to be able to show people that you are coming from a point of competence and have that credential with you at all given points in time, because you never know, you might get that 30 seconds in an elevator with the person that you needed to speak to, and it's just the two of you, and you need to be able to get that very quickly.
Exactly. No, they're very, very nicely presented. It's very important how you work with the people and the changing mindset, changing behavior, and it can be because of some personal reasons, or maybe because of the way they thought versus now what is happening in your project at the moment of program. So many things, and you need to deal with them, and you need to identify those change in behavior early enough, or maybe look at the signs or triggers, and oh, it's something coming up, so you can be ready for that. What measurement should be there for the EPC projects, change management and value creation?
I'm not quite sure what they're referring to in the EPC projects in itself, but change measurements and value creation, look, I think the key thing is understanding why you're doing it. What is it that you're trying to get to? What is it that why are you investing your money, your time, other people's money, other people's time? And there needs to be a clear understanding of what you want to do. And from there on, it's really about looking at and breaking down what you need. And again, I'll go back to my first statement around long-term sustainment of what you want out of it. So yes.
Sohan, just to, what EPC is? Engineering, procurement, construction projects.
Engineering, procurement, construction projects. Okay, right. Thank you. That's very helpful. And look, I don't work directly in that engineering and procurement space, but what I can do is to perhaps talk a little bit in a broader terms in what's required. I work in highly regulated spaces, and I know, just like in engineering construction spaces, there are some very, very strict regulatory requirements that you need to meet along the way. So it's really critical that you have that structure of what needs to be delivered along the way in place, and have a good understanding of it, so that you can hit those milestones along the way and deliver on that. But the benefit and the value you generate is really around how you go about hitting those milestones, hitting those requirements along the way. Because the key thing you need to keep in mind from that value creation and change perspective is, how do you make that sustained? And when you're coming up with measurements, how do you know whether your change has been successful? Your measurements always need to have a baseline that you need to understand, but then build those next layer and the next period of measurement with the metrics that you want to see in there very clearly, so that when you go and say, okay, well, we changed this process, so we wanted to get an extra 20% of value through this change, then make sure that you have a clear path that is, the simple SMART type goals, specific, measurable, timely, all that, so that you're not saying in year one I'm going to get to 20%. It might be a build-up process, but always have those measurements realistic, so that you can say in year one we're going to get a 10% shift. Year two might only be 5%. Year three might only be 2.5%, and that's okay, because you can't get a linear benefit from everything you do. Sometimes it's that last 20% is what's going to need that extra 80% of work, right? So it's okay, but it's about clear communication to have that information noted, so that you can always go back and say, here's what we promised, here's what we delivered.
Yeah. Good. Let me take the next question. How much technical ability should the program manager have? So
that's a great question, and I'm always a firm believer that the technical ability doesn't need to be better than everyone else in your team. Right? You should have the smartest people and smarter people than you, for sure, in your team to do what they are supposed to be doing. Right? Your role is really a coordination role. So you're the conductor of a huge orchestra, and your role is to make sure that you employ or bring in the best players of the best violinist or the best bazoo player or whatever it is, a trumpet player, and get them to do what they do, and don't hamper them in any shape or form. Get them to do the best they can. But you must know how to read the music. You must know what the context that you're working in. You must know what the piece of music they are playing to, so that you know that they are delivering to the specification that you want. They are delivering the right harmonies in the right speed, the right time, as you are directing them. Right? So I don't believe you need to be an absolute technical expert in whatever you do. It is really important that you have contextual knowledge of what you do, and even more so as a program manager, you need to have a very, very, very clear understanding of the business requirements and the business context of where you're delivering value to.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And it's actually, as you correctly said, it's not the technical ability, it's how you're going to work with those technical smart people and get the result most effectively. How often when you see a musical concert, the person standing in front of all the greatest musician, he probably have no idea how to play the trumpet or piano or some other thing, but he understand how to get the best out of that. All these people coordinating the music which you are expecting, audience expecting, are coming out. So some technical knowledge, of course, you cannot put a construction program manager in front of the musician. Hey, now you coordinate. No, you cannot. You need to have knowledge of the music.
You need to have awareness and the context of what you do. But exactly. I think as a program manager, never feel intimidated that you're not the smartest person of the subject matter, or you're not the most expert at that subject matter piece in the room, right? Don't ever feel that, because that's not your role. You've got experts to do that role.
Yeah. And when I was hired by HP for setting up the cloud data center, I have no idea the cloud and all this infrastructure, how technical thing. But I have to work with those smart people. They're the network specialists and architects, this and then from around the world. So my skill is to coordinate and get the maximum best out of them. If somebody say, hey, you don't have any cloud background, yeah, I don't, but I know how to get the things done from those people. That's what as a program manager expertise is.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. So I have another question. What is the effect of empathy in value creation?
That's great. And look, I'm a firm believer in having, a well-developed sense of empathy as a project manager, because that's a really critical component of what you do. It's kind of like, you need to know how to work on an engine to be a mechanic. You need to know how to work with people to work in project management. It's not just about the technical capability and delivery. Project management, mostly, at least in my experience, mostly about people and getting the best out of people to do what they need to do what they do best, so that we can put everything together. Right? So absolutely a huge believer in having a good sense of empathy, being able to relate to people, to be able to work with people. And the more people understand you, the more you understand them, we go back to that trust component we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Right? And that trust component builds capability, builds value, because it builds the foundation for everyone to perform without fear of reprisal. Right? So understanding at the very basic level is really important.
Fantastic. Okay, yeah, very important to have empathy, and because the people you're working with, they, what they're going through, and if you understand who they are and what they're going through, and you talk to them at their level, then the relationship is very, you're going to have very great relationship, and very important to have relationship, and especially when you work in highly complex programs, these are the people going to help you when the tough time happen. I have so many examples where some simple person, very low level, had made it possible because once I was talking to him and he thought I'm a good listener and I helped him one way or other. And now he said, Dharam, at any time, program or project or anything you feel like I'm in trouble, I will be the last person to leave, because the trust factor, because you help them and they help you.
And it builds that social capital as well, so that they can go and they can go into bat for you when you really need them. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to ask them; they will say, "Yep, Dharam can get that done because of A, B, C, D."
Exactly.
And that's important.
Exactly. All right. So thank you. My last question I have: how to create value in government-owned organization where change is not easy to come by? And again, very good question. Thank you.
So this is how to create value in government organizations where change
government-owned organization where change is not easy to come by.
Okay. That's a wonderful question, and it's very topical for me because I work across a number of government organizations and different levels of government as well. And look, I always preface my responses in saying that no one comes to work to have a bad day. Right? Everyone comes to work to do something, to add value, to feel valued, to do something that's going to benefit, whether it's you or someone else, whatever. So understanding that there's always different pressures and different levers that you have to pull, especially in government organizations where everyone's playing with someone else's money, right? It's not your money that you're playing with, you're playing someone else's money. And so the scrutiny is much higher. The visibility is a lot higher. The accountability is a lot higher. The pressure of doing something without doing the wrong thing is a lot higher. So you find that in a lot of government organizations, the risk profile is very different to a startup, for example, right? So, and that's not a right or wrong thing. It's just what it is.
Mm.
The way to work through change management and changes in that sort of environment is really to do a number of things there. One is around understanding what the critical success factors are in what they're looking to do. Why are they doing the change? What is it that they're trying to do? And then be honest and upfront in all those conversations so that everyone has all the information upfront. So there's no surprises. No government organization that I've worked with have ever said to me, I really enjoyed having that surprise come my way, right? It's a no surprises situation. So you do everything you can to reduce the amount of surprises that you come up with, right? And then you work with the right people in every forum. And there's a lot of conversations that have to take place because you can't go from a one-to-one conversation in a lot of these situations because there's a lot of accountability steps in place and everyone wants to be at least informed, if not involved, right? Yep. So you have to have those conversations, and you often find that you go into big meetings all the time to have the smallest thing done. But again, you go back to the fundamentals as to why it happens that way. And if you have that understanding, then I think the previous question we talked about empathy. You have a certain level of empathy and tolerance to say this is what we need to do. So sometimes you need to slow things down a little bit to speed things up later on. And it's really about understanding what you need to do and how you go about doing it.
Exactly. Fantastic. Good. So many questions and so much good explanation. And thank you, Sohan, for your contribution. I know these sessions are not easy. Passing PgMP can be much easier than coming to these sessions. I can tell you.
I really enjoyed it. It was a great conversation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Exactly. Well, this is a great way of expressing and presenting knowledge. Hopefully, this knowledge bank which I've been creating can stay for many, many years, or many, many generations can benefit out of that. So they can look back, hey, my forefather, and Sohan, when, in 2024, he did a talk, now it's 2034 or 3054. Who knows? Anyways,
I did say I'm not shy to be, not the smartest person in the room, right? So just it's on record, so they can always say that idiot didn't know what he was talking about.
No, whatever we know, we are expressing ourselves. It's not about smartness or doubt. It's whatever, it's a way of expressing. And you did really well today. And thank you for every question you were spot on, and you did really well. And I like to appreciate each of you guys who come again and again to watch these sessions. And without you, these sessions are nothing. We cannot run these sessions. So please keep coming, keep learning from these, because it's not about PDUs only. PDU you can earn various ways. It's about what value I will get from my guest and what value possibly you get from me as well from the discussion. So that's where if you keep getting the value and keep letting us know, and I will be more than happy to bring more and more people. I think I already have a plan of at least 10 great leaders who will be on this webinar very soon. My next guest is going to be from Germany, Michael, and the webinar is on 21st of March. So maybe you like to put in record. Actually, I visited Michael's. He is working in Han automation, and when I went to Germany, Frankfurt last year, he invited me to visit and give a very nice tour of this highly automated factory, where they are making every device or automation device they're making. Actually, from the ground up, every device or every machine they're making from the. So I'm very excited to have him and learn a lot about that. From the catch up from the last time I finished in last year to now, and so 21st March. So please take a note of that. And if you are not registered, register. And by the way, if you are interested to keep learning from me and Sohan, I'm sure Sohan is also open for accepting the LinkedIn connection or talking to you. If any of us can help you, please reach out to us, and happy to be helped with your certification, PMP, PgMP, PfMP. Now I started PBA as well, and risk management and scheduling. So pretty much any PMI certification we can help you with. So once again, Sohan, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. I appreciate your every second, every thought.
Thank you, Dharam. I really enjoyed it. I hope our attendees got some value out of it as well. Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and just wanted to say I really enjoyed working with you on my PMP and PgMP. PgMP, I should say. Processes as well. That was really valuable.
Thank you for trusting me through the journey, and okay, we have appreciation. Thank you, Dharam and Sohan, for a wonderful session. Thank you. All these comments very useful. Of course, we get excited. Thank you for your comments. So yeah, and I will see you again, guys, or rather you will see me again very soon on 21st of March, if not early. So please stay tuned and keep watching the videos or recordings you have in on the YouTube. So keep learning. So thank you guys, and see you again. Take care. Thanks, Sohan.